Good morning, everyone. I'm recording now. Before we get started, can I know if the plaintiff counsel is all ready? All right. Defense counsel, all your team members are ready?
Yes.
All right. The judge, Tuan Kafli, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we may begin now. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone to adhere to the rules and regulations of the court proceedings, and to ensure that you are well informed of the time that you're given. For chief examination, you will get a 15-minute, and then it will be cross-examination for 20 minutes, and you will again get the opportunity to do re-examination for 10 minutes. Right. Without further ado, let's begin. All rise. The High Court is now in session. Tuan Kafli is presiding. Thank you. The court is now in session. We call for the case number in High Court of Malaya at Malacca Summon Civil number MAL-NCVC 22-1/10-2021. Kasim Selamat bin Jailani versus Sunshine City Developers is now in session. Please be mindful of your time, as we will not notify you on your time management. Today, the case is fixed for trial. Tuan Kafli, are you ready to call the plaintiff to give an opening statement?
Yes, please.
The plaintiff counsel may now give your opening statement.
May it please the court, Your Honor, Sumitra Joanne, counsel for the plaintiff, Kasim Selamat bin Jailani. Together with me today is my co-counsel, Kanisha Nair, and the instructing solicitor, Yvonne Lee. There are two witnesses with me today, Mr. Kasim Selamat and Jessie Chung. Tuan, our case today concerns my client, Kasim Selamat, a simple 65-year-old licensed fisherman that carries out fishing activities along the coast of Padang Kelapa. He has suffered several losses and injuries resulting from the defendant's action and omissions due to their development project of Sunshine City. The launching of the development project by the defendant has caused geographical and environment changes to Padang Kelapa, which not only affected the daily lives and source of living of my client, but also to the local residents. In civil cases, the standard of proof required to a party to eliminate the legal burden is proof on the balance of probabilities. This can be seen in the case of Eric Chan Thiam Sun. Section 101 of the Environmental Act requires the plaintiff to prove that the injury caused to him was due to the defendant's negligence. In respect to the plaintiff's case, we will submit to the court that the defendant had failed to fulfill the duty of care owed to the plaintiff as required under the tort of law. This includes the failure of the defendant to prove the existence of duty of care, that is to show that they had acted according to the duty of care owed to the plaintiff throughout the Alam Kara project. The failure of the defendant to plan, design, and construct the Sunshine City project, which led to the collapsing of the plaintiff's house, and the omissions of the defendant's duty of care owed to the plaintiff. The above-mentioned grounds will be further elaborated and explained by adducing documentary and corroborative evidence by the witnesses during the oral testimony before the court. We will call upon two witnesses, namely Kasim Selamat bin Jailani, the plaintiff himself, and Jessie Chung, a researcher and lecturer. Through the trial, the plaintiff will respectfully submit that there are insufficiencies in the evidence of the defendant's case. The defendant was negligent in causing or has failure to the soil erosion under the plaintiff's house, a higher level of marine debris. To preserve marine ecology, this caused loss of income. To prevent coastal erosion that resulted in loss of beach and turtle nesting area, sedimentation and accretion on southern Padang Kelapa, and comply with the Environmental Management Plan and Environmental Impact Assessment. Based on the evidence that you will hear at the end of the trial, we would ask you to find the defendant guilty as charged on all counts. Much obliged.
The plaintiff counsel may call their first witness to the stand. Mr. Kasim Selamat, please take the stand. Please state your full name and your identification number.
My name is Kasim Slamat bin Jalan. Identification number 560123015697.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that the testimony that you are about to give
that the testimony that I am going to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth?
and nothing but the truth.
We begin.
Mr. Kasim, may I know what is the reason for your presence in court today?
I am the plaintiff in this case, and I have several claims against the defendants today due to their negligence and omission.
How long have you been living in Padang Kelapa?
I have been a resident in Padang Kelapa for the past 50 years.
Throughout the 50 years of being a resident here in Padang Kelapa, has your house ever collapsed before?
In 50 years of me living in Padang Kelapa, I have never come across such situation before. This is the very first time me and my neighbors are experiencing this, especially after the defendant's development project has taken place.
Mr. Kasim, are you aware that the developers have all the approvals and license to carry out the project?
Yes, I am aware, but then they have their license. I noticed that there were a seawall and wave breaker nearby, which was not even in the plan of the approved development.
Did these unapproved structures cause you loss in any way, Mr. Kasim?
Yes, it certainly did. Between July to December 2019, there was a notable significant erosion and stronger currents encountered in the northern part of the Padang Kelapa beach.
What losses exactly did you incur due to the erosions that you noticed?
The porch of my house collapsed, causing the roof to fall on my head. This has stopped me from being able to work for 2 months, with my income being disrupted, and I am unable to do any tedious work for the rest of my life.
In your opinion, what is the main factor that caused the collapse of your house?
I think the main factor that caused the collapse of my house would be the erosion that was caused by the defendant's development project.
The defendants have argued that the erosion was caused due to natural occurrences. How true do you think this is?
If the erosion was caused due to the natural occurrences, all the houses alongside mine would have been affected. This erosion only affected my house alone because my house is the nearest to the beach, which means that my house will be the one to face the consequences firsthand from the erosion.
How long was the duration of your income being disrupted due to the defendant's development project?
It has been 5 years. I've been having a steady annual income, which is RM 36,000 from 2008 till 2015. But entering 2016, when the project of the defendant has started to take place, my annual income too has reduced, with only an annual income of RM 300 this year.
Do you think that throughout the project, the defendant owes you any responsibility?
Yes, of course. They owe me and the rest of the Padang Kelapa residents a responsibility to make sure we are all taken care of throughout their whole project, as in nothing of ours should be disrupted due to their work.
And do you think they fulfilled this responsibility?
Absolutely not. They neglected the responsibility owed to me by causing me losses and damages.
May I seek permission from the court to allow the instructing solicitor to share the screen of some photos taken by the plaintiff himself?
Okay, you may.
I'm not able to share the screen meanwhile when the screen is being shared. Committee.
I cannot see anything.
All right, can you try again?
Okay, now.
Mr. Kasim, these are some of the photos that you yourself took. May I know what is the purpose of these images?
As you can see, the first two pictures of the propellers, it is damp due to their marine debris, and the last two pictures is after my house being collapsed.
Thank you, Mr. Kasim.
The court now calls for the defense counsel to do cross-examination on the plaintiff first witness.
Thank you, Ms. Con Interpreter. Assalamualaikum, and a very good morning. I'm from the defense team. So I'd like to proceed with my cross question, Tuan.
Proceed.
Maksudnya, Tuan. Mr. Kasim Selamat. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Kasim Selamat, I would like to shift your focus today to these questions on your occupation. So if you may, please tell the court, what is your occupation?
I'm working as a fisherman.
How long have you become a fisherman?
I have become a fisherman around 15 years.
15 years. So in 15 years, you have become a fisherman. I suggest to you that you are an expert regarding fish and fishing. Is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Kasim, what type of fish do you usually catch?
Geragut besar, ikan selam, yeah, and etc.
Now, Mr. Kasim, these fish that you usually catch, are they located in just your area, or you can find a similar fish elsewhere?
Sorry?
This fish that you mentioned just now that you usually catch, can you find the same fish elsewhere, or is it at the same location where you usually catch the fish?
Yeah, I will stick to the place where I usually catch the fish.
So I suggest to you that you also not sure whether they are the same fish elsewhere.
Because I'm used to being in a Padang Kelapa.
Mr. Kasim, please yes or no only. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So in this area that you always go fishing, are there many other fishermen there?
I am the main fisherman.
I'm sorry?
I'm the main fisherman.
Okay. My question is, at the location where you always go fishing, are there any other fishermen there?
Yes.
That's it. Then agree with me that due to an increased number of fishermen at your place, the number of fishes would decrease.
Yes.
Agree with me that to you and many more fishers in Alam Kara, fishing is a business.
No.
To you, fishing is not a business? I thought your occupation is a fisherman.
Yes, my occupation is a fisherman, but then it's not a major occupation in Padang Kelapa.
No, the question is that, agree with me that to you and some other fishermen at Alam Kara, fishing is a business.
Yes, I agree.
Now agree with me that in business, there is always a competition.
Agree.
Correct. I suggest to you that in a competition, sometimes people cheat and that they use other tactic to gain benefit. Correct.
Yes.
Now agree with me that unlike you, a sole fisherman, there are other fishermen who is also a full-time fisherman and have no side incomes. Correct.
Yes.
Then these people who have no side income may try their best to gain full benefit from fishing.
Yes.
Then agree with me that there may be possibilities that the decrease of the number of fish may be because of the fishermen.
Yes.
Then the defendant, I would like to shift your focus now to the defendant. The defendant started their construction at 2017, correct? Mr. Kasim, you want me to repeat my question?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. The defendant started their construction at 2017, correct?
Oh, yes.
Now, I would like to refer to you to document F. Miss Instructing Solicitor, can you please present document F, landings of marine fish at Alam Kara? Sorry, I think my instructing solicitor cannot present the slide if you guys are presenting the time allocation.
The court's permission, I would like to display the landings of marine fish in Alam Kara by sharing the screen.
All right, can you try now?
Now, Mr. Kasim Slamat, can you see the slide, the document? This
Yes,
is
I can.
landings of marine fish in Alam Kara, Malacca by species, correct? Now, if you look at the number, you can see that there is a decrease. The number dropped at 2016, correct?
Correct.
The number at 2015 was 285.88 tons per total, and then the number at 2017 is 219 total, correct?
Correct.
Seems pretty fair to me that even before the defendant has started their construction, which is at 2017, the number of marine fish has already decreased, correct?
Correct.
Agree with me that there are a lot of factors that may affect the number of fish landings, correct?
Correct.
Overfishing can affect the number of fish, correct?
Yes.
Water pollution can affect the number of fish, right?
I don't agree.
Water pollution, let me repeat my question so that you can understand better. Water pollution can affect the number of fish, right?
Correct. But okay.
All right, thank you. Then there are a lot of factors that can affect the number of fish, right?
Yes.
So I suggest to you that the number of fish is affected by the fishermen and also other factors, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Kasim. Now, I'd like to shift your focus now to the coastal area. Is it true that you are also involved in ecotourism as well?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned just now that the number of turtle landing has also decreased, correct?
Am I mentioning it?
Did you mention?
I'm not.
I think in your witness statement that you provide to us, that you have extended to us, mentioned that the number of turtle landing has decreased.
Oh, okay. Correct.
Correct. All right, thank you. I suggest to you that Padang Kelapa is very famous for tourist attraction, correct?
Correct.
Agree with me that there are many cases of places where the ecosystem is affected by human activity, right?
Correct.
Now agree with me that Padang Kelapa is a favorite local tourist hotspot, correct? This means that when there are a lot of tourists at Padang Kelapa, there are a lot of human activities here, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Kasim, do you have any knowledge and are you an expert on turtle landing?
No, I'm not.
You are not an expert. Thank you. Then agree with me that turtles, if you are not really an expert, I think this is actually a common knowledge. Agree with me that turtles only lay eggs or land at places where they feel safe, such as places with less human activities. Correct?
Correct.
Do you know that turtle eggs are really expensive and that there are illegal demand for these turtle eggs?
Correct.
Have there ever been a case of turtle eggs poaching at Padang Kelapa?
Can you repeat your question?
Have there ever been any case of turtle poaching at Padang Kelapa?
No.
No, because they were never caught, or no, because all the poachers' attempt failed before this?
No, because they are never caught.
They never caught. Thank you. I suggest to you that the number of tourists are declining at your place at Padang Kelapa because the attraction at that place has been affected by human activities. Correct?
Correct.
Do you agree when turtles find other places to lay eggs, tourists would find other places to stay? Correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Kasim. Now, I would like to shift your focus to affected coastal erosion. Mr. Kasim, I refer to you back to your witness statement where you mentioned that the defendant's project that caused the coastal erosion in Padang Kelapa. Correct?
Correct.
Do you have any knowledge that the defendant is not the only developer in Padang Kelapa?
Yes, I did.
So you know that the defendant and there are many other developers at Padang Kelapa, correct?
Yes.
Agree with me that if there are other developers in the vicinity of Padang Kelapa developing that particular place, the other developers might have caused the coastal erosion too, correct?
No.
You don't agree with me that when there are a lot of developers developing one place, they might have contributed to the coastal erosion at that place.
Because I'm not agree with you, because since I started my occupation as a fisherman, there are a lot of developers. But then I had this problem, which is a coastal erosion after the defendant projects has taken place.
After the defendant's project has taken place, coincidentally, the numbers of fishes would decrease, correct?
Correct.
I suggest to you that this developer who are developing Padang Kelapa have the permit obtained from the state government of Malacca.
Correct.
Agree with me that the state would not permitted any project if the proposed project would affect any person living nearby, correct?
Correct.
Now agree with me that neither the state nor the environmental office has stopped the defendant from carrying out their project, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Kasim. Now, I would like to shift your focus now.
Sorry, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Even though they have approved their project, but then there are two more projects, which is seawall and wave breaker, was not even in the plan of the approved development.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Kasim, but that is not my question. Thank you. Now, Mr. Kasim, I'd like to shift your focus to the house and incident that you faced. Mr. Kasim, now I refer to you to document G, photos of damage to boats and plaintiff house. Ms. Instructing Solicitor, can you please? Yeah, thank you. Now, the first picture is, I assume, is the picture of your part of your boat, correct?
Correct.
And on the second page, can you please go down? Yeah. On the second page is the picture of your house and your porch, correct?
Correct.
Now, you mentioned just now that you've been
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I cannot hear the defense counsel voice. Huh? And then, Mr. Better, is there any problem?
My apologies. I believe our defense counsel one is having an unstable internet connection right now.
I'm really sorry. There was a problem with the internet connection.
Shall we proceed?
Tuan, may I proceed?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please. Thank you. Much obliged, Tuan. Mr. Kasim, now to the second picture, Miss Instructing Solicitor, please. Second page. Yeah, thank you. Now, this is the porch and your house, correct?
Yep.
Mr. Kasim?
Yes.
So you mentioned before this that you've been living in Padang Kelapa for almost 50 years, correct?
Yes.
As I just told you that 50 years is a long time, correct?
Yes.
Is your house made of wood, Mr. Kasim?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Kasim, from these two pictures on the second page, can you identify the defendant in this picture?
Sorry, can you?
Can you identify the defendant in this picture?
No, I'm not.
Can you identify any of the defendant's worker in this picture?
No.
Is there any picture of the soil erosion that you can point out to the court today?
No.
Now, Mr. Kasim, I would like to take you back to 23rd July 2021 at around 3:30 p.m. I hope you can still remember that.
Yep.
Remember that day? Yeah. Now, before we get to that day, I would like to ask you, Mr. Kasim, are you a contractor?
No.
Are you an engineer?
No.
Have you ever built a house?
No.
Have you ever built a porch?
No.
So I suggest to you that you have a very little amount of knowledge on construction, correct?
Yes.
Is this your first house, Mr. Kasim?
Yes.
Okay, now let's go back to 23rd July 2021 at around 3:30 p.m. Can you remember that day?
Yep.
You were on the porch, correct?
Yes.
Maintaining your fishing equipment, correct?
Correct.
During you were at the porch, you heard a loud crack coming under your porch. From under your porch, correct?
Correct.
Not only that you heard a loud crack coming from under your porch, you also felt a tremor on the porch where you were sitting, correct?
Correct.
After the loud crack, Mr. Kasim, what was your reaction? What do you feel?
I feel afraid and I feel shocked because I never heard such sound before.
You feel afraid and shocked, correct?
Yeah.
At that very moment, when you feel afraid and shocked, obviously you don't feel safe, correct?
Correct.
You then stood up and investigate the source of the noise, and then at that moment, the porch collapsed, correct?
Correct.
And you suffered some injury, correct?
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When you heard the loud crack and felt a tremor on the place where you are sitting, you don't feel safe, correct?
Correct.
When you don't feel safe, I assume you can sense danger, right?
Correct.
When anyone senses danger at the spot where they are sitting, they are standing, obviously they would find for a safe spot, right?
Correct.
At the time you heard the loud crack and felt a tremor, were you trapped, Mr. Kasim?
Yes.
You were trapped. During you heard the loud crack, you were trapped.
Yes, I will. Because I'm old enough.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kasim. Let me repeat my question, if I may. when you heard, I'm not asking after, when you heard the loud crack, were you trapped?
No.
You were not trapped. Thank you, Mr. Kasim. Are you capable of moving?
I'm not.
You are not capable of moving.
Yeah, I'm not capable to move that fast.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kasim. Oh, you mean you are not capable of moving too fast, but you are
Yes.
capable of moving, correct? You can walk away, right?
Correct.
Were you on your right mind?
Correct.
There is nothing, I suggest to you, there is nothing at that particular moment stop you from finding a safe spot, right?
Correct.
But did you escape the place where you sense danger, where you said you feel afraid, you felt shocked? Did you try to find a safe spot?
I tried, but I can't.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kasim, but this was not mentioned during your witness statement. You mentioned that after you heard the loud crack, you went for an investigation. Now I repeat my question to you, Mr. Kasim. Did you, during you felt shocked and sensed danger, did you try to escape the place?
No.
Thank you. Did you try to call for help?
No.
You mentioned earlier that you are not a contractor nor an engineer, but instead of finding a safe spot, you, in your conscious mind, knowing by fact that you are not a contractor nor an engineer, carried on an investigation yourself. Correct?
Correct.
Agree with me that if the moment you felt danger, you felt unsafe, you felt afraid, you ran away and searched for a safe spot, like any reasonable man would do, you would not have suffered any injury, correct?
Correct.
The porch collapsed on you because you were doing your investigation, correct?
Correct.
The support beams broke into two because the porch collapsed from your action of carrying out an investigation, correct?
Correct.
The zinc roof fell on your head, knocking you unconscious because you carried on that investigation, correct?
Correct.
Seems fair to me that if you did not carry on that investigation, you would not have suffered any injury, correct?
Correct.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kasim. My lord, that is all for the cross-examination from the defense. Thank you.
Does the plaintiff counsel wish to re-examine the first witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Kasim,
Yes.
to your knowledge, did the number of fishes reduce significantly over the years after the development took place?
Sorry.
To your knowledge, did the number of fishes reduce significantly over the years after the development took place?
Yes.
Was it hard to get a large catch as the development took place? Of fishes, I mean.
Yes.
Were there any other factors like water pollution that was actually occurring in Padang Kelapa during the time of this incident?
No.
Did any other factors like water pollution or fishermen, increase in fishermen, actually contribute to the decrease of fishes, in your knowledge?
No.
Did you and other residents in Padang Kelapa take a community action to ensure this turtle poaching does not happen?
Yes.
Objection, my lord. Objection to one, the question was not raised during the cross.
The question is not raised, huh?
Yes.
Okay, please, another question.
Was the act of turtle poaching still happening during the time the development was done?
Yes.
Was your house maintained throughout the years, Mr. Kasim?
Yes.
In your 50 years in Padang Kelapa, have your house ever collapsed before?
No.
To your knowledge, does soil erosion need the act of someone physically removing such soil?
Sorry.
To your knowledge,
Mhm.
does soil erosion need someone to actually physically remove the soil?
Yes.
Why did when you heard the loud crack in your house, why did you check the sound when you felt the tremor?
Sorry, Council, I can't hear you.
When you heard the loud crack in your house, why did you check the sound when you felt the tremor?
Because I never heard such sound before, so I checked for it. In my experience living in Padang Kelapa, I never been in such situation.
Did you carry the investigation that actually caused the roof to collapse on you?
Sorry.
Did you carry the investigation that actually caused the roof to collapse on you?
Yes, I did.
That's all, Tuan. Thank you, Mr. Kasim.
Thank you.
The plaintiff now may call for your second witness to stand aside. Mrs. Jessie Chung, please take the stand. Please state your full name and your identification number.
My name is Jessie Chung, and my identification number is 721107082682.
Right. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that the testimony that you are about to give
that the testimony that I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth?
and nothing but the truth.
The plaintiff may begin.
Good morning, Ms. Jessie.
Good morning, Counsel.
Can you briefly introduce yourself?
I'm a researcher and lecturer with the Institute of Ocean and Coastal Science with the Peninsular University. My areas of expertise include environmental impact assessment, EIA, coastal and ocean hydrology, marine science, and also marine biodiversity.
Why are you here in court today, Ms. Jessie?
I'm here today to provide my statement with regards to the plaintiff's claim. I was part of the EIA panel for the Sunshine City Development Project in Alam Kara. I had also conducted the preliminary study and modeling to determine the possible impact of any of the seawalls and wave breakers to the change of coastal hydrology and cause of increase in intensity of erosion and accretion in Padang Kelapa.
Ms. Jessie, what does environmental impact assessment or EIA mean in simple terms?
Environmental impact assessment is a study to identify, evaluate, and also communicate information about the impact of a prescribed project on the environment.
Can you tell us on your knowledge with respect to the Sunshine City Development Project approval?
Sunshine City Development Project has obtained all the necessary approvals in 2014 prior to the commencement of the project, and numerous consultations that we held with relevant stakeholders. However, the approval was not obtained without protest from selected groups from Alam Kara. The defendant must always comply with the Environmental Management Plan, EMP, all the time during the project.
Can you briefly explain what conditions are stipulated in the EMP that the defendant must follow?
In the EMP itself, there are two major and key relevant conditions that the defendant must follow. First of all, the defendant must comply with the mandatory act of planting vegetation along part of the reclaimed and converted areas, particularly at the southern end of the project site. And this action is important in order to deter coastal erosion and to possibly provide vegetation to encourage turtle nesting. While the second action was that only soft structures will be developed on the rest of the beachfront. And these conditions in EMP are part including as a prerequisite for the approval obtained by the defendant.
Ms. Jessie, was both requirements adhered to by the defendant?
No, it was not. With regards to the first requirement, the defendant had opted to plant casuarina tree, which does not meet the purpose of planting vegetation in the EMP, as I mentioned in the earlier question. And the second requirement of constructing soft structures along the beachfront was also not done. They made hard structures instead.
Why must only soft structures be erected along the beachfront?
Soft structures are actually more effective solutions in the medium to long-term perspectives, as they can help to dissipate wave energy by mirroring natural forces. Put it in a simple way, soft structures are the methods to secure and also restore the coastal line through a body of sand in order to maintain the natural topography of the coast. They work with nature in order to mitigate sea level rise and other coastal problems. And that's why only soft structures should be erected along the beachfront, as they can preserve the coastal ecology.
What was the impact of the hard structures along the beachfront?
Hard structures are effective, but will create a domino effect in the long term. They can help to stop local erosion in order to protect the asset, but subsequently will then contribute to erosion in adjacent areas. The hard structures can also further damage and change the coastal hydrology and affect erosion and wave intensity within the structure itself, as well as in neighboring areas.
In your expert opinion, was the erection of the seawall and breakwater the only viable option to secure super specialty center?
No, both seawall and breakwater are considered as hard engineering structures. There are still other options available for the defendant to adopt, such as using soft engineering structure like planting vegetation or using beach nourishment techniques.
What was the importance or the impact of the depletion of the mangrove swamps?
Mangrove swamps serve as a natural erosion defense mechanism to the coastline of Alam Kara, and depletion of mangrove swamps has caused changes to the coastal hydrology and has significantly affected fisheries production for the fishermen.
And how do mangrove swamps actually get depleted?
Mangrove swamps can get depleted due to the activities such as overexploitation, deforestation, and also land reclamation. And in our case today here, mangrove swamps got depleted because of the development project carried out by the defendant. The original size of the coastal forest is estimated to be 10 hectares, which included mangrove forests. However, after conversion of about 80%, approximately 2 hectares of mangrove forests remain. And this indicates to us that approximately 8 hectares of the mangrove swamp get depleted due to the defendant's activity.
Ms. Jessie, what are casuarina trees?
Casuarina tree is, the full scientific name for casuarina tree is Casuarina aquisitifolia, which is a deciduous tree that occurs in open coastal habitats, including sand beaches, rocky coasts, and also sand dunes. And the trees can grow to over 100 feet, which is approximately 30.5 meters in height. And it is native to Australia and Southeast Asia and was introduced into Florida in the late of 18th century.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. What was the impact of planting only casuarina trees, and was it adequate to prevent soil erosion in our case today?
We understand that the purpose the defendant plants casuarina tree is to comply with the EMP requirement. However, this chosen type of vegetation is not native. Due to its spreading and fibrous root structure, it is not appropriate for deterring erosion.
Ms. Jessie, in your opinion, were the changes that were happening due to the natural occurrences, or at the very least could have been natural occurrences?
No, the changes that were happening were very much due to the defendant's development of Sunshine City project.
Why was there a significant shift of high levels of soil erosion between the end of 2018 and early 2019?
There was a significant shift of high levels of soil erosion between the years because of the speedy shrinking of the coastal forests, which originally plays an important role as the natural coastal erosion defense mechanism. Without the coastal forest aiding in grasping the soil structure, this has caused significant and severe erosion and also high wave intensity experienced in the northern coast.
What would have been the due process and regulation for the erection of both the seawall and breakwater generally?
Before the defendant proceeds with constructing the seawall and also breakwater, they must adhere to the requirements of the Environmental Impact Assessment Order 2015 by taking appropriate environmental impact assessment on the construction of seawall and breakwater. And after EIA is carried out, the defendant must comply with the environmental management plan if the plan has been approved by the EIA panel. The defendant must all the time abide by Environmental Quality Act 1974.
In your opinion, what would be the pinpointing factor to cause the major collapse of the plaintiff's house?
The pinpointing factor that caused the major collapse of the plaintiff's house is because of the increase in the intensity of soil erosion, which has subsequently caused the foundational damage to the plaintiff's property that led to the collapse.
Ms. Jessie, as you know, there was a wear and tear to the structure of the home of the plaintiff. Would the lack of maintenance by the plaintiff actually be able to be a factor to cause the house to collapse?
No, it's not. Extreme erosion was still the main factor in causing the plaintiff's house to collapse. Wear and tear are considered to be minor damage to his home and will not result in such a big damage as what has happened to the plaintiff. This was further supported by my outcome of the investigation, which shows that the erosion contributed approximately 80% to the cause of collapsing. While the wear and tear as to the structure exposed to intense heat and water exposure merely contributed approximately to 20%. Hence, it was an imbalanced ratio of 80 to 20. It was not the lack of maintenance by the plaintiff himself has caused the house to collapse, but it's the extreme erosion that serves as a major contributing factor to it.
Could any other house be affected by the severe erosion, albeit not being closely situated near the waters like the plaintiff?
Yes, investing authorities have determined that the severe erosion has resulted in the residents unsafe for inhabitation. And this shows to us that other houses could also be affected by the severe erosion, although not being as closely situated near waters as the plaintiff. The residents would only be safe for inhabitation unless and until necessary measures are taken by the defendant to reduce the effect of severe erosion.
How would the other major coastal developments in the area affect the experience in Padang Kelapa?
In the year of 2016, another coastal development has been approved by the state to develop a port 26 kilometers north of Padang Kelapa, where massive dredging and reclamation has begun and is underway. However, due to the fact that the other major coastal developments are far more away from Padang Kelapa as compared to the Sunshine City Development Project, which is 5 km of the coastline north of Padang Kelapa. The other major coastal developments will not significantly affect the experience in Padang Kelapa.
Ms. Jessie, in your opinion, in your knowledge, between the natural occurrences, other major coastal developments, and also the development in Sunshine City, which was the vital or the main contributing factor to the horrible shift in Padang Kelapa?
The main contributing factor to the horrible shift is still the development in Sunshine City. After I carried out the study to determine the cause of extreme levels of erosion in Padang Kelapa, I have identified that there has been significant change to coastal hydrology, wave and also current intensity, as well as erosion and accretion in Padang Kelapa, which are largely attributed by the breakwater constructed in Sunshine City project. Even though there are other major coastal developments in the area, approximately 70% of the intensity experienced in Padang Kelapa was attributed towards the developments in Sunshine City.
Jesse, would the natural occurrences be able to produce the same intensity of damage as Sunshine City development did, even in perhaps 7 to 9 years?
No, it would not. The intensity of damages caused by natural occurrences would not cause the same intensity of damage as to what Sunshine City development did. Even without the construction of breakwater, Padang Kelapa may have still been subjected to change in coastal hydrology, but its ensuing impact will be to a lower degree as compared to the damage resulting from the Sunshine City development.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. That's all. Bye.
Before the court calls for defense counsel to do cross-examination, I would like to do a quick remark that in order to let the defense counsel and plaintiff counsel to share their screen, we won't share the time, but I will inform you if you have exceeded your time. So now, the court calls for defense counsel to do cross-examination to the plaintiff second witness.
My lord, we pray to proceed with the questions for cross-examination.
Proceed.
Miss Jessie, according to your witness statement, you were one of the EIA panel for the SSC project in Alam Kara. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
In your statement, you also mentioned that SSC had obtained all the necessary approvals before the commencement of the project. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the approvals for the project they are given by the state and the local authorities? Do you agree with me?
Yes, they are given. However, there are still some conditions that the defendant must adhere to.
Ms. Jessie, my question is on the approvals given to the for the SSC project. They were given by the state and local authorities. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that regardless of the protest by the local residents in Alam Kara, the approvals were already given to the SSC project? Do you agree with me?
No.
Ms. Jessie, just now you mentioned that the approvals have been made and have been given to the SSC before the commencement of the project. So do you agree with me that despite the protest, the approvals had already been obtained before the commencement of the project?
Yes, the approval was given. However, taking into account the complaints and also their reactions towards the Sunshine Development Project, therefore the EMP was issued in order to mitigate the negative
Jessie?
impacts.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My question is, despite the protest, the approvals were already given. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the casuarina trees plant was planted as part of the project? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the plantation, the vegetative plantation, was intended to mitigate some of the consequences from the project. Do you agree with me?
No.
Miss Jessie, do you agree with me that the EMP include the mandatory act of planting vegetation? Do you agree?
Yes.
So do you agree with me that the plantation by the defendant was intended to meet this requirement? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that in your statement, you did not state whether the type of vegetation to be planted upon the approvals back before the commencement, the type of vegetation was not specified? Do you agree with me?
Yes, it was not specified.
Miss Jessie, now I would like to bring your attention to the map of the disputed area. Miss Solicitor from the defendant, could you present to me the map, the current map of Alam Kara?
With the court's permission, I would like to display the current map of Alam Kara by sharing the screen.
Miss Jessie, as the researcher or an expert, I believe you are familiar with the location. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that Alam Kara shoreline is along the Malacca Straits? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that Malacca Straits is a busy area? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that in Malacca, not really specified in Alam Kara, in Malacca, there have been heavy development to handle the busy industry? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the busy industry taking place in Malacca as a whole may affect the nature of any nearby shoreline? Do you agree with me?
No, it depends with the location.
Do you agree with me that the industry activities may affect any shoreline in Malacca?
Sorry,
you agree
Counsel,
with-
can you repeat your question again or perhaps rephrase it?
Okay. Regardless of the specific location, this is a general question. The busy industry activities taking place in the Straits of Malacca may affect the nature of any shoreline. Do you agree with me?
No.
Objection, my lord. He's leading the witness and he's asking the same question in different manners. The witness has already answered the question to say that it is a no.
Sorry, what is your objection?
The question that the second counsel for the defendant has asked if whether the busy streets in Malacca, the development in Malacca itself would mean that there is a consequence to Padang Kelapa. To the source of Padang
Sorry,
Kelapa.
I did not specify any location in my question.
He did say in Malacca. Does that mean it can actually cause the changes in Padang Kelapa? And he also rephrased his question one more time to state out generally, does any development, can it cause actually any sort of changes in the environment? It's the same question in two different manners.
Okay,
And the witness have answered it.
objection overruled. Defendant counsel can proceed with the questions. Because during cross-examination, counsel is allowed to ask leading questions. You proceed.
Miss Jessie, as an expert, do you agree with me that busy industry activities can cause effect? Any effect? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree with me that the shoreline area along the Malacca, not necessarily Alam Kara, is vulnerable to any impact from the industry? Do you agree with me?
Yes, it definitely will cause some impact to the shoreline.
Okay. Do you agree with me that Alam Kara is situated along the Malacca Straits? Do you agree with me?
Sorry, Council, can you repeat?
Okay. Do you agree with me that Alam Kara is situated along the Malacca Straits?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that under normal circumstances, Alam Kara is also vulnerable to the impact by the industry?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the possible impact may include disrupting the marine ecosystem and the soil condition of the shoreline?
Yes, correct.
Referring to the map, do you agree with me that the plaintiff's house is near the shoreline? Do you agree with me?
Yes, it's the nearest.
Do you agree with me from the map and also to your own knowledge? Do you agree with me that there is no protective mechanism or any mechanism to protect the shoreline from any possible impact? Do you agree with me?
No.
Do you agree with me that according to the map, the plaintiff house is very near to the shoreline? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that there is nothing to protect the plaintiff's house? Do you agree with me? According to the map, do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Council, can you rephrase your question again?
Do you agree with me that the location of the plaintiff's house being situated near the shoreline is vulnerable to any possible impact from the shoreline? Do you agree with me?
Yes. However, initially there is coastal forest there to reduce the soil erosion.
Okay, just answer my question. Okay, just answer to the extent of my question, which is that the plaintiff's house being situated near the shoreline is vulnerable to any possible impact. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree with me that Padang Kelapa is a quiet and clean area? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree with me? Because of the condition, it may attract some tourists. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that for the past years until recently, Padang Kelapa has been known for its hawkbill turtle sighting? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the locals community are involved in providing homestay, turtle watching, and volunteerism to their tourists? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the tourists may be outsiders?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the tourists are not necessarily restricted from visiting any area they want to be? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that tourists may come from different backgrounds?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that tourists are not always responsible?
It depends.
Do you agree with me that the tourists are not always responsible in maintaining the area? My question is always. Do you agree with me? They are not always responsible in maintaining the area.
Yes, they are not.
Do you agree with me? It is reasonably foreseeable that the tourists may leave some waste.
Yes.
Do you agree with me that Alam Kara is a rural area?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that a rural area does not always have a high quality waste management infrastructure?
Yes.
In regard to the disputed matter, from 2012 to time spent is a long period. Do you agree with me?
Sorry, Council, I can't hear you properly. Can you repeat your question?
In regard to the disputed matter brought to the court today, from 2012 to 2020, that is a long period of time. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me? Within the long period, it is reasonably foreseeable that an accumulation of negative impacts may take place. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the negative impacts may include the impacts coming from the busy shipping industry and the tourism business? Do you agree with me?
No.
Just now you acknowledge that there is a busy shipping industry that may possibly cause effect to the shoreline of Alam Kara. Do you agree with me? Earlier, when we discussed about the Malacca Straits, do you agree with me that it is a busy strait?
Yes, it is a busy street.
Okay. My question just now is the negative impacts that is accumulated may come from the busy shipping industry. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And also, in addition to that question, the negative impacts may also include the possibility that the negative impacts are coming from the tourism business. Do you agree with me?
Not really.
Just now, you agree with me that it is reasonably foreseeable that tourism are not always responsible in maintaining the area clean. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
That you just agreed to that statement?
Yes.
Okay, so do you agree with me that the negative impacts accumulated in the long period that I just addressed? Do you agree with me that the negative impacts may also come from the tourism business that took place in Alam Kara? Do you agree with me?
Yes, the negative impacts would be in terms of the waste.
Okay. Do you agree with me that the discussed negative impacts, as for now, we discuss about the busy shipping industry and also tourism business. Do you agree with me that those possible cause of negative impacts, may influence the condition of the soil along the shoreline? Do you agree with me?
No.
Do you agree with me that the negative impacts may take place in the disputed area?
No.
Miss Jessie, just now, throughout my questions for this cross-examination, you have agreed to me. You have acknowledged that there is a busy shipping industry and also there is tourism activity in the disputed area. So do you agree with me that you just agreed to the existence of those industry?
Yes, they do exist.
And you also agreed to me about the possible negative impacts coming from those two industries. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So my question is, those two possible causes of negative impacts may possibly affect the soil condition. Do you agree with me? We're talking about possibilities here. Miss Jessie, do you agree with me?
Yes.
My lord, those are all the questions for this cross-examination.
Thank you.
Does the plaintiff counsel wish to re-examine the second witness?
Yes, with the permission of the court.
Yes.
Thank you, Tuan. Miss Jessie, was the development approved or by the dissatisfaction of the Alam Kara residents?
Yes, the development was being approved.
Why
However,
was it? Yes,
my-
my apologies, Miss Jessie, if I may, the second question. Why is it that regardless of the protest, the approval was given by the government and the state for the project?
Despite the dissatisfaction of the Alam Kara residents, the approval was still being granted because the defendants promised that they will adhere to the environmental management plan in order to mitigate the levels of negative impacts towards the Alam Kara itself.
Did the defendants adhere to the requirements as promised in the EMP approval?
No, they did not.
Was there a mandatory act of planting vegetation?
Yes, there is.
Was it stated what type of plantation should be planted or what type the defendant would like to plant?
No, it was not stated exactly what the vegetation should be planted. However, the purpose is clearly stated there. The purpose of planting the vegetation.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. Is the defendants planted the casuarina trees, correct?
Yes.
In your knowledge, in your opinion, was it adequate to prevent the soil erosion in Padang Kelapa?
It is inadequate due to the fact that casuarina tree is not native and also due to its root structure, which is fibrous root structure and also spreading root, it is not appropriate to deter soil erosion in that way.
Do you agree that this, following the last question, it would mean that the casuarina trees itself will not prevent soil erosion despite the effort by the defendants to plant them?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie, does the heavy development in Malacca generally mean that a certain environment, let's just say Padang Kelapa, would be affected?
Yes, it will.
But does the heavy development, Ms. Jessie, if I may, does the heavy development in Malacca, in any part of Malacca, albeit a very far location from Padang Kelapa, would it mean that Padang Kelapa will be affected?
No.
As per your investigation, was the development from the defendant the reason that the soil erosion occurred?
Yes, it was the main reason.
Did the coastal forests deplete once the defendants started their project?
Yes, it depleted about 8 hectares from the original one.
And if I may, how many hectares were the original coastal forests?
10 hectares.
Which means 80% of the coastal forest was depleted, right?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did the tourism sector or the tourists contribute to the waste being piled up, as per our facts?
Yes.
To your knowledge, is that the main reason as to why waste was being piled up?
No.
Ms. Jessie, despite the lack of waste management infrastructure, do you agree that there was still a clean environment in Padang Kelapa due to the initiative of the local community?
Yes.
Ms. Jessie, what was the main or vital cause of the soil erosion?
It was due to the defendant's development of Sunshine City project and also the construction of seawall and also breakwater.
Ms. Jessie, was the construction of seawall and breakwater being approved
No.
by the panel or the state or the government?
No.
Was there any positive change to the environment of Padang Kelapa due to the development of the defendant's project?
No.
That's all for now. Thank you. I thank the court.
That concludes the case for the plaintiff. Does Tuan Kafli require some time to finalize your notes for the plaintiff, or can we begin with defendant half of the trial?
We shall proceed.
All right, we shall proceed. The defendant now may give your opening statement.
Thank you, Ms. Court Interpreter. May it please my lord, we are from the defense team. Before we commence with our opening statement, for the court's information, the defense has submitted the opening statement to the court and also extended our opening statement to the plaintiff. With the court's permission, we pray to proceed with the opening statement.
Okay.
Ms. Instructing Solicitor, can you please present the opening statement?
With the court's permission, I would like to display the defendant's opening statement by sharing the screen.
May it please your lordship, my lord. The case before my lord is a case that is brought under the law of negligence from the law of tort. The defendant, Sunshine City Developers, is a company whose main business is in development and construction service. In accordance with the said law, the defendant has been sued for negligence in preparing, designing, and supervising of the project to develop Alam Kara, which was alleged to have led directly to the personal injury and economic loss suffered by the plaintiff. My lord, the standard of proof in civil cases required of a party to discharge the legal burden is proof on the balance of probabilities. I would like to invite the court to look at the principle as highlighted in the case of Inas Faikah Muhammad Helmi against Kerajaan Malaysia, where the court explained the threshold of evidence in civil matters, which is the standard of proof in civil cases is the legal standard to which a party is required to prove its case, namely on a balance of probabilities. In civil litigation, the question of the probability or improbability of an action occurring is an important consideration to be taken into account in deciding whether the particular event had actually taken place or not. The burden of proof lies on Section 101 of the Evidence Act, which provides that whoever desires any court to give judgment as to any legal right or liability dependent on the existence of facts which it asserts must also prove that those facts exist, and that when a person is bound to prove the existence of any fact, it is said that the burden of proof lies on that person. On the same provision highlights the general rule that a party who asserts a certain fact must also prove them. It means that the provision I highlighted requires the plaintiff who sues the defendant for negligence under the law of tort to prove that the injury caused to him was directly due to the defendant's negligence. In the case of Kambao Siong and another against Wilayah Fabrication, Sdn Bhd and others, the Court of Appeal made the following observation, where the law on the burden of proof is found on the Chapter 7 on Part 3 of the Evidence Act. In accordance with Section 101 of the Evidence Act, as I mentioned just now, the legal burden of establishing that circumstances has arisen which would entitle the third respondent to appoint the receivers and managers would lie on the third respondent themselves. The third respondent would then need to illustrate that the defendant had defaulted under the terms and conditions of the debenture and that there was centralization and that the receivers and managers were properly appointed. Hence, my lord, throughout the trial, in order to succeed in a civil case, it must be proved by the plaintiff on the balance of probabilities his case is true. My lord, in respect to the defendant's case, we will submit to the court that the plaintiff had failed to fulfill the elements of negligence required under the law of tort. This includes, firstly, the failure of the plaintiff to prove the existence of the duty of care, that is to prove that Sunshine City Developer has duty of care towards the plaintiff when the project of Alam Kara was being held. Second, the failure of the plaintiff to prove that the defendant has breached that duty of care, that is to prove that the defendant, Sunshine City Developer, has committed wrongful act in relation to the project of Alam Kara. And lastly, the failure of the plaintiff to prove the existence of causation, where the personal injury, loss, and damage suffered by the plaintiff came about as a result of the allegedly directly wrongful act committed by the defendant, Sunshine City Developer. The above mentioned grounds will be further elaborated and explained by adducing documentary evidence and corroborative evidence through the witnesses during the oral testimony before the court. My lord, the defense today will call two witnesses, mainly Sharifah binti Abdullah, the project director of Sunshine City Developer, which is the defendant, and secondly, the environmental consultant, which is Mr. Jasper L. Edward. Throughout the trial, the defendant would submit and show to your lordship that there are insufficiencies in the evidence in the plaintiff case, such as firstly, whether it was the defendant's Alam Kara project or the natural coastal occurrence that were the cause for the soil erosion underneath the plaintiff house. Second, whether the plaintiff has proven their case when they alleged that the defendant did not comply with the environmental management plan and environmental impact assessment when the defendant was first awarded the project. In conclusion, to sum up our case, my lord, the defendant, Sunshine City Developer, who had obtained approval for the project of Alam Kara legally, has been falsely alleged of committing negligence under the law of tort. For this reason, after hearing all of the evidence at the end of this trial, we humbly request the verdict to be returned in favor of the defendant. That is all for the opening statement, my lord. By the defense team, we pray to call our first witness, Ms. Sharifah, to on the stand for our examination in chief.
The court now calls for the first witness of defendant counsel to the stand. Mrs. Sharifah binti Abdullah, please take the stand. Please state your full name and your identification number.
My name is Sharifah binti Abdullah with the IC number 700-707-01-1234.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that the testimony that you are about to give
that the testimony that I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth?
and nothing but the truth.
You may begin.
Ms. Instructing Solicitor, can you please present the witness statement?
With the court's permission, I would like to display the witness statement of Sharifah binti Abdullah by sharing the screen.
Ms. Sharifah, can you identify this witness statement?
Yes, I do identify this witness statement.
Is this your witness statement?
Yes, it is mine.
Is there anything you wish to add to your witness statement?
There is nothing that I would like to add in this aforesaid witness statement.
Do you understand that this witness statement will be used as evidence in the court today?
Yes, I do understand.
Do you confirm that this witness statement is true to your best of belief?
I can confirm.
Ms. Sharifah, can you please sign and date the witness statement?
Will do. Done.
Thank you, Ms. Sharifah. Your Honor, my Lord, we pray for this witness statement to be marked as exhibit and to be taken as read.
Yes.
My Lord, would there be any label for the witness statement?
Sorry.
Would there be any label since I am tendering the witness statement as an exhibit?
I think you should ask the witness to read out the witness statement first before tendering the witness statement exhibit.
Much obliged, my Lord. With that, the defendant would like to start with the examination in chief. Can you briefly introduce yourself to this honorable court?
My name is Sharifah binti Abdullah, and I am the project director for Sunshine City.
Ms. Sharifah, why are you here in this court today?
Well, I am here as the witness for my employers, Sunshine City Development, and I am here today to provide the statement on behalf of the employers in regard to this particular project.
Ms. Sharifah, being the employee of Sunshine City Development, what is your qualification and specific occupation?
I am a civil engineer by qualification, and I specialize in project development. As for the specific occupation, I am again the project director, apologies, counsel of the Sunshine City Development.
Ms. Sharifah, how long have you been in project development?
I have been in this industry of project development for a little over 20 years.
Can you please enlighten the court, when did you join your employer's company?
I first joined the aforesaid company, being Sunshine City Development, as general manager for projects in the year 2010. After 7 years working for the company, I was promoted, fortunately, to become the project director for Sunshine City. We were halfway through phase 1 of the project and about to kickstart phase 2. I have to say we are slightly ahead of schedule because of the efficiency and competency of our management team and also our respective employees.
I would like to refer the witness to the project brochure, document A, on the bundle of document. Ms. Sharifah, do you have any knowledge on this document?
Yes, I do, counsel.
Can you confirm that this document belongs to the defendant?
Yes, this is the document that is belong to Sunshine City Development.
My Lord, the witness has testified that she identified this particular document, which is project brochure. We pray that this document to be marked as exhibit.
Okay, mark as an exhibit.
Is it?
Madam Interpreter, do you have any number for the exhibit? Madam Interpreter,
can I?
Yes, please.
Can we mark it as D1?
Certainly.
okay. Okay, proceed.
Ms. Instructing Solicitor, can you please revert back? Yeah, thank you. Ms. Sharifah, according to the project brochure, the exhibit D1, can you please explain to the court pertaining to the project conducted by the defendant?
Well, the Sunshine City Development was a project approved in the year 2014, which will involve land use change for the purpose of development. The project, I would say, is ahead of its time in terms of project design and plan, as well as the technology and services which would be brought to Alam Kara the state, as well as the country.
I would like to refer the witness to the document B. Sorry, apology. Document C, map of development plan of Alam Kara in bracket 2013. Ms. Sharifah, can you identify this document?
Yes, I do.
Does this document belong to the defendant?
Yes, this document, map development of plan of Alam Kara 2013, belong to Sunshine City Development.
My lord, the witness has testified that she identified the map of development plan of Alam Kara in bracket 2013. We pray that this document to be marked as exhibit D2.
Okay, D2.
Much obliged, my lord. Now, Ms. Sharifah, according to the map of development plan of Alam Kara, can you please enlighten the court? What are the technologies and services that will be brought to Alam Kara?
Now, as a metropolitan city that can potentially be the hub for future prospects, we provide, number one, highly specialized medical services, and also number two, future higher education services that is catered to national as well as international appetite.
By looking at the technologies development that will be brought to Alam Kara, can you please tell the court what impacts does the project have?
This mega project would have affected the area in such a positive way, in a sense that the project will bring socio-economic benefits to the district through hundreds to thousands of job creation, infrastructure development and enhancement, alongside several economic opportunities for the people of Alam Kara.
Before the defendant commenced the project, can you please explain to the court what did the company do?
Well, prior to the commencement of the actual project, there are a few processes that need to be adhered to and need to be conducted in order to ensure that this particular project is legally permissible, albeit the long and tedious documentation processes.
Ms. Sharifah, you mentioned that there are few processes that need to be conducted. Can you please explain more about these processes?
Well, counsel, the processes include the top management ensuring all necessary approvals were obtained from the base to the highest level. Now, that is number one. Secondly, we also consulted with all stakeholder groups and communicated the nature, design, and scope of this project, being Sunshine City. Third and finally, we had also identified and complied with all necessary mitigation and management actions to the best of our ability and knowledge.
Ms. Sharifah, after the processes have been conducted by the defendant, what happened next?
After the processes have been duly complied and conducted, we also took a few measures to adhere to pressing issues and concerns of Alam Kara, such as conducting the social impact assessment, that is number one, and also the environmental impact assessment, that is number two. Add to the fact, in addition, we also formulated interventions for the sake of the fishermen in Alam Kara.
Ms. Sharifah, you mentioned just now that one of the measures you took was the environmental impact assessment. Can you elaborate more?
Well, as a company that cares for the environment, that has been in the industry for a long time, we comply with the conditions set under the environmental impact assessment. Now, this can be exemplified through the plantation of casuarina trees at the southern coastline of the project, which is the condition set under DIA Council.
You mentioned previously that the company made interventions to assist the fishermen. Can you please enlighten the court? What are those interventions?
Well, the first intervention is that we provide financial compensation for those who opt out of fisheries after the project has been completed and during the commencement of the project. And second, the reskilling of the fishers in the civil sector, which will later on, the fishermen will later work for Sunshine City in the service sector.
Mr. Sharifah, is there any particular reason why these interventions were implemented by the defendant at the first place?
Counsel, this is to mitigate the effects of the possible loss of fisheries ground. Now, as a company, we understand that as a result of this project, it will definitely change the course on how people live their lives, It is worth mentioning that Alam Kara is a small village and it is mostly uninhabited. And we understood that at the end of the day, they still need sources of income to support their lives and to supplement the lives of their families. Therefore, as a responsible company that cares not just for the project, but the people, we would want all parties to benefit from it.
Ms. Sharifah, please enlighten the court about the results of those interventions you mentioned.
The interventions were a success, and we managed to reduce the number of registered fishes in Alam Kara by 25%.
Ms. Sharifah, what happened throughout the project?
Well, the project was running really smoothly with slight hiccups, as all construction projects do, if I may say. I have been in the industry for 20 years. Now, the claims made by the plaintiff that our company is the sole reason for the soil erosion, accretion, and other associated impacts encountered in Padang Kelapa were totally baseless.
Ms. Sharifah, what makes you say that the claims by the plaintiff were totally baseless?
Well, as I have mentioned before, I have been in the industry for a while now. I have been involved in this project for a decade, and having stayed here in this locality for that long, being 10 years, it's a long time. The changes towards the coastline in Alam Kara is a natural process. Now, erosion and accretion are no doubt established natural occurrences. And when projects occur, and again I say this, when any projects occur, we are bound to face such phenomena.
You mentioned that we are bound to face such phenomena. Can you please explain more?
Well, these types of natural occurrences do not just occur in our project, but in any development project for that matter. If a construction or a development company decided to conduct huge projects, and may I say there are prior projects before Sunshine City, changes towards the nature of Alam Kara will automatically occur no matter what measures you take for that matter. Now, add to the fact that multiple other projects have been developed in Alam Kara prior the SSC project commenced. Apologies, Council.
Do you have any reason why you say that such an occurrence is a natural phenomenon?
The reason I say this is because the Straits of Malacca has witnessed drastic and countless coastal development projects over the years. And add to the fact that I have been in this locality again for 10 years now, and these have been known to contribute towards changes in coastal hydrology, amongst others. In addition, the intensive maritime activities, the coastal development coupled with the impacts of climate change, new developments or projects such as Sunshine City have the disadvantage of factoring in this impact of geographical change. Now, it is worth mentioning that the project is commenced in 2016 and there are multiple other projects prior to that.
After acknowledging this particular fact, what did the defendant do?
Well, Sunshine City has at its proposal stage factored all possible impacts and developed the project accordingly. However, upon learning there is another approved state project that heavily contributes towards the erosion and accretion, knowing that fact, it is best for the company to pursue immediate intervention to curb and to mitigate this particular concerning issue.
Sharifah, can you please explain what are the relevancy of the immediate interventions?
Well, the new state project that was approved in 2016 involves massive coastal development to put up a huge port that involves intense and massive dredging and coastal reclamation work. And this has led to intense coastal erosion, and the design green structures will not be able to sustain the facility, Council.
Sharifah, can you please explain in detail about the immediate interventions conducted by the company?
Well, as it was deemed of an immediate risk, firstly, a task force was established to identify immediate options, and it was concluded that a seawall, apologies, Council, and breakwater would need to be constructed right away. The seawall would fortify the shoreline and secure the specialty center. whereas the breakwater will protect the coastline of Sunshine City. And preliminary modeling conducted by the company indicated that the breakwater will also lend its benefits to the coastline of Alam Kara itself.
For clarification purposes, Ms. Sharifah, why the need for these immediate interventions?
Based on initial observations and assessments by the company, it was determined that immediate intervention would be the best way to safeguard the then almost complete super specialty center. Now, may I clarify, since it is a mega project that involves millions of ringgit with this high magnitude and the positive impacts that the project has towards the district, the state, and also the nation, it would be foolish for Sunshine City Development to waste this project that is years and even decade in the making. Therefore, we decided to impose the best intervention to save the project and provide a better future for the people of Alam Kara.
Defendant,
Sharifah.
your time is up.
My lord, can I please proceed with my last question to the witness?
Okay, proceed.
Much obliged, my lord. Ms. Sharifah, last question. What are the consequences if the immediate interventions have not taken place?
Council, if the immediate intervention was not made, it is estimated that eventually all of the super specialty center would have been ruined and there would be irreparable damage towards the district of Alam Kara.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharifah. My lord, with that, the defense has ended our examination in chief. The witness is subject to be crossed.
Would you like to tender the witness statement as an exhibit?
Apologies, my lord. Yes, the witness statement to be marked as exhibit DW1.
DWS1.
DWS1.
Yeah. Defendant witness
Much obliged,
statement
my
1. Okay.
Yes. Much obliged, my lord.
Plaintiff counsel may now conduct the cross-examination.
Hi, Ms. Sharifah.
Hello, Council.
You are leading the project of Sunshine Development, am I right?
Correct.
Could you please describe your job scope?
Well, my job scope, Council, involves overseeing the project of Sunshine City as a whole, which includes the execution and also the implementation of the project, Council.
Can I confirm with you that you are the employee of the defendant Sunshine City?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that you have been promoted as the project director of Sunshine City?
Yes, Council.
And how long have you been in this area?
I've been in this area for 10 years, I might say.
It is stated in your witness statement, Ms. Sharifah, that in 2017, as the project was halfway through phase 1, the project was slightly ahead of schedule. Am I right?
Correct.
Don't you think that by being ahead of the planned schedule, it could disrupt the construction of the plan?
No, Council. Now, if I may say, I've been in this project development for 20 years, right? So it is normal practice for any construction companies or any construction projects to complete ahead of its time. It does not just apply towards this particular project in Alam Kara, but any project in that matter, whether being in the south or northern of Malaysia. In actual practice,
Ms. Sharifah,
yes.
it was just a yes or no question.
Oh, you did not clarify, sorry.
You stated that there are positive impacts due to the development of the project. Am I right?
Correct.
Do you agree that the positive impacts are not present?
If I answer this question, may I clarify?
Yes, you may.
Can you rephrase the question, Council?
Do you agree that the positive impacts are not present?
No, I disagree. Now, this is because we acknowledge, all the parties here acknowledge that Alam Kara is a a place that is uninhabited and would say underdeveloped. And I would say the primary activity or economy in this particular vicinity is fishing and also local tourism. Now, I would argue as a project director that the project of Alam Kara has positive impacts towards the people of Alam Kara due to the fact that number one, it provides a new sources of income for the people of Alam Kara, and number two, it provides the people of Alam Kara with multiple new resources and multiple new alternatives for them to continue with their livelihood. Therefore, I will argue that there is positive impact towards the people of Ankara because of this Sunshine City project.
Do you agree that there are no positive impacts present on the circumstances now?
No.
Are there positive impacts now in the current?
Yes, and if may I clarify, Council?
No, Ms. Sharifah. It was just a yes or no question.
Understood.
Do you agree with me that the seawalls and wave breaker were actually unapproved?
No.
Could you clarify on this, Ms. Sharifah?
Well, during the commencement of the seawall and breakwater, there are, would say, within my experience, there are quick decisions need to be made by the company. Therefore, after acknowledging the fact there is a state project in 2016 that is conducted that involves high port development, and this has caused immense soil erosion. Therefore, as a project director with this particular experience, we decided to develop the breakwater and seawall adhering to the EIA in such a quick method. So at the end of the day, we did adhere to it, but it unfortunately does not resulted in the best possible solution.
You mentioned the quick method, right, Ms. Sharifah?
Apologies.
You mentioned that this was for quick method, right? The sea walls and the wave breaker.
Correct, Council.
Does that mean you have resulted in the worst scenario?
If I answer this question, may I clarify?
Yes, you may.
I would say no, because if I may clarify to the parties in this honorable court, I have been in this industry for 20 years, 10 years as an engineer and another 10 years in project development, and I would say 10 years in Sunshine City development. Now, there are immediate, or would say quick decisions that need to be made. If it was not made, if the state project have started and the erosion have started, if Sunshine City did not commence with the Sunshine and Brick City, it would have led to gastronomical and worse impacts in comparison to it having now.
Do you agree this is not approved in the EMP approval?
Yes.
Do you agree that no such formal approval was taken to ensure the hard structures were actually permitted?
Apologies, Council. I would say no.
What was the vegetation being planted in the project, Ms. Sharifah?
Well, after consulting with all the stakeholders in this particular project, with all the technical team, with all the experts, with all the developers, subcontractors, it was concluded that, and I might say this, that the people from the EIA did not specify on what kind of vegetations that could be commenced and conducted. There is no specification. Therefore, as a company that adheres to all the laws in Malaysia, we decided to take the best immediate option, which is to plant casuarina trees in the southern coastline of the project in order to adhere with the conditions under the EIA Council.
When did the hard structures get approved in the project? And could you clarify on which authority?
Council, the structure was approved in 2014. However, in order on the question on the authority, it is beyond my expertise to answer on that. Because need to mention, I'm a project director. I'm not a lawyer. I have my lawyers here. Therefore, I am not entitled to answer the second part of your question.
Was it expressly approved that hard structures can and will be approved by the EMP?
Well, it is approved by the state authority, then yes.
Do you agree there was a need to plant vegetation as per the project plan?
Yes, yes, I do agree. And that can be encapsulated in the Casuariana trees that is planted in the southern region, Council.
Why is there a need to plant vegetation? May I know, Ms. Sharifah?
The reason, Council, to plant the vegetation is to adhere with the conditions set under the EIA and also the EMP. We understand as a company that we need to adhere all the possible guidelines, laws, sublegislation before commencing the project in the first place. And I say that there are 2 years before the project is approved. Okay, so 2014 is the year SSC project is approved, correct? So 2012, between 2012 to 2014, there are 2 years. 2 years, I might clarify, 2 years. So therefore, we consulted with all the relevant stakeholders, including the social and environmental aspects of the project, and concluded that planting the vegetation is a condition under the EIA to which we adhere to it.
Ms. Sharifah, what's the purpose of planting a Casuarina
The purpose of planting the Casuarina tree is number one, the environmental department did not clarify at all on what kind of vegetation should be imposed. They did not clarify what kind of trees that should be imposed.
Sharifah, my question was, what's the purpose of planting a Casuarina tree? Not whether did they clarify on what should be planted.
Apologies, Council. Now, the purpose to plant the tree is to adhere with the conditions of the EIA.
Was the Casuarina tree adequate to prevent soil erosion?
Well, the EIA, if I answer this question, may I clarify?
No, Ms. Sharifah. It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Do you agree that the Casuarina trees provide a scenic view?
Yes.
Do you agree that this is the principal reason as to why the choice of vegetation was the Casuarina tree?
If I answer this question, may I clarify?
No, Ms. Sharifah, it's still a yes or no question.
Can you clarify the question?
Do you agree that this is the principal reason as to why the choice of vegetation was the Casuarina tree?
And it's because of scenic route, is it? That's what you stated before.
Yes.
No.
Do you agree there could have been another way to safeguard the super specialty center?
If I answer this question, may I clarify?
No, Ms. Sharifah.
Can you repeat the question?
Do you agree that there could have been another way to safeguard the super specialty center?
No.
Do you agree that the breakwater and seawall was not the only method and manner to be taken to safeguard the super specialty center?
Yes, it is the only way.
Do you agree that the hard structures were taken with no account of the impact on the soil erosion?
No.
Ms. Sharifah?
Yes.
Do you agree that by constructing seawall and breakwater, it will cause soil erosion to the adjacent areas?
If I answer, may I clarify, Council?
Witness, please answer the question. You have to repeating yourself. I think it's quite annoying. Just answer the questions and let the council control your question, your answer. Thank you.
Apologies, Your Honor. Council, can you repeat the question?
Do you agree that
sorry, defense counsel to please be in session because you always turn off your video. if I can be in the session for all the time, I expect all parties should be in the session as well. Mr. Aiman, Defense Counsel, to please be in session.
If I may proceed, Tuan. Do you agree that by Ms. Sharifah?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree that by constructing seawall and the breakwater, it will cause soil erosion to the adjacent areas?
No, Council.
What do you mean by slight hiccups during the commencement of the project?
May I clarify, Council?
Yes, Ms. Sharifah.
Thank you, Council. What I mean by hiccups is that, as I referred in my witness statement, now as a construction company, which is have been in the industry for years, slight hiccups being there are slight hindrances or obligations when pursuing the project. Examples that can be given is there are a lack of commitment by the workers, the lack of commitment by the subcontractors, the equipment being worn off. So there are several other obligations that I can explain to the court today, but to that, those are the hiccups that I intend to mean in perusal for this particular case.
Do you have the duty to control the hiccups?
Yes, Council.
Since you say changes to nature would automatically occur, then what were the preventive measures the defendant took in this project?
The preventive measures that is took in this project is by adhering to the project accordingly, and also that the cause of massive erosion is not because during the commencement of our project, it is due to the state project that is approved in 2016, Council.
Could you elaborate more on, upon learning that there is another approved project that has highly contributed to the soil erosion during your witness statement earlier?
Will do, Council. Now, the approved project in 2016 is another new state project that is conducted in the district of Alam Kara, if I may say. It is further 21 kilometer on the northern part of SSC, and it involves a huge port development that is constructed in order to ease the lives of the people of Alam Kara. So to answer your question, that is the new approved state project in the year 2016, Council.
Are you aware that the defendant owes a duty of care to the residents of Padang Kelapa, especially since they have decided to do their development project?
Yes, I am aware.
Do you know what are the main reasons for erosions to occur?
The main reasons for the erosion to occur is, again, I have said it a few times, Council, is due to the new state project in the year 2016. Now, if I may extend my answer, our project started in 2014. And throughout the years, up until the claims made by the plaintiff, there is no signs of erosion at all. However, the erosion only started when the new state project in 2016 have been commenced, Council.
That's all, Ms. Sharifah.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Tuan.
Plaintiff Counsel, do you wish to re-examine the second the witness?
Thank you. My lord, may I proceed with the re?
Okay, proceed.
Much obliged, my lord. Ms. Sharifah, you disagree when the council pointed out that the project conducted have no positive impact. Now, can you please explain to the court about the positive impacts?
Apologies for interrupting. Why do I disagree with that fact is that now we have completed phase 1. So the phase 1 of the project is on the medical services, correct? So after finishing phase 1. Phase 2 is the higher education services. So there's 2 teams for this particular project. Now, as of now, there is positive impact towards the district of Alam Kara in a sense that they can now enjoy advanced, developed medical services as phase 1 of the project have been completed. So therefore, there is positive impact as of now.
Ms. Sharifah, you agree that the seawall and breakwater was not approved in the EMP. Can you please enlighten the court why was it not approved?
Well, well, number one, it's because the EIA and the number one, I have to clarify that there is massive soil erosion that can potentially destroy the specialty center and at the same time destroy the economic opportunities for people of Alam Kara. So therefore, within the power of a project director, I need to take very concerning measures in order to mitigate these kind of issues. So it is not that we did not obtain approval. We did, but however, it was done in a really quick manner because if we would not conducted it quickly enough, then the whole project would be destroyed and the whole of Alam Kara would be destroyed with it because it is again a really huge project, Council.
The plaintiff counsel actually pointed out that the super specialty center would not have impact Alam Kara in a positive way, and you answered no, you disagree. Can you please explain the impacts that the super specialty center would bring to Alam Kara?
Will do, Council. Now, the super specialty center, as I say, is a metropolitan hub for future prospects, as mentioned in my witness statement. Now, the reason why the super specialty center is so beneficial for the people of Alam Kara is due to the reason that it provides, number one, new economic opportunities, and number two, will provide better lives for them. And this can be exemplified through the medical services that is provided. And the medical services that is provided by them, they can work in the service sector instead of being just a fisherman. I'm not saying that fisherman is bad. I'm just saying that there are new alternatives for them to gain their income after the medical services set up. Now, the second part of the question is that the second benefit of it is that it provides them a better life for the people of Alam Kara in a sense that after the educational services has been established in phase 2, the people from Alam Kara can benefit by pursuing a further tertiary education in order to better their lives. Because at the end of the day, Alam Kara is very, I would say, underdeveloped, which is the reason why a lot of other coastal projects is in commencement. Hence, by having a new tertiary, a new university, we would say, a new educational service, it will definitely benefit the younger generation of the people of Alam Kara, Council.
Ms. Sharifah, you disagree that the soil erosion occur in Alam Kara was due to seawall and breakwater. Can you please enlighten the court the reason why the seawall and breakwater was implemented by the defendant?
I will do, Council. It is worth mentioning that in 2016, the new project is commenced, and that new project in 2016 would say is also a really huge project in its nature. It's also of a high magnitude. Again, it's 21 kilometers. So that project in itself, as I myself as a project director, is huge as it involves massive dredging, massive reclamation works, and massive technical aspects that is involved for the development of the Woodsay Port Authority. So because of that, it has a spillover effect towards the people of Alam Kara, towards the geography of Alam Kara, in a sense that their impacts can be felt towards the district of not just Alam Kara, but in Padang Kelapa and also in other villages as well.
Ms. Sharifah, you agree that the defendant owes the duty of care towards the plaintiff. Can you please enlighten the court? Did the defendant comply with all the reasonable thing that they should do to ensure that the plaintiff and also other residents residing in Alam Kara to be safe?
Yes, counsel. I would say we. I will clarify. I'm not a lawyer, but I would say we already executed all the necessary duties and responsibilities as a construction company to have the utmost duty to take care of the people of Alam Kara. Because number one, we obtain all the possible approvals and also permits before pursuing this particular project. And this can be exemplified that the project was approved by the State Authority of Malacca themselves. That's number one. And number two, it is also worth mentioning that we also comply with all the social impact assessment, the environmental impact assessment towards the construction. And these would say nitty-gritty things is adhered to by Sunshine City. Because again, I mentioned within 2 years of consultation process before the project was approved, we consulted with all the technical aspects, all the technical aspects, the environmental aspects, the social economical aspects of the project, the subcontractors. After exerting and gaining all of the information from the relevant stakeholders, we concluded that this is the best option. So at the end of the day, yes, we have commenced our duty of care in the best possible way.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharifah. My lord, that is all from the defense team for the re-examination in chief. We pray that the witness is to be released.
It should be a re-examination. There's no re-examination in chief. It should be a re-examination only.
Apology, my lord.
Thank you. Okay, any other witness?
Yes.
Court now calls
My lord.
for the second witness of the defendant counsel. Mr. Jasper L. Edward, please take the stand. Please state your full name and your identification number.
My full name is Jasper L. Edward with the IC number of 550505073411.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that the testimony that you are about to give
that the testimony that I am about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth?
and nothing but the truth.
My lord, we pray to present the written witness statement by the defense witness number 2, Mr. Jasper L. Edward.
Okay, proceed.
Much obliged, my lord. Miss Solicitor, please present the written witness statement.
With the court's permission, I would like to display the witness statement of Jasper L. Edward by sharing the screen.
Wait, can I see the heading of the witness statement? Who prepared this heading? In the High Court of Malaya at Malacca, in Federal Territory, Malaysia.
It is, my lord, if I may.
Sorry?
If I may, it is from the organizer themselves, my lord.
Oh, organizer.
Yes.
What about the summon civil number?
The summon civil number was left empty. It was also left empty by the plaintiff when they submitted their documents to us. So instead of being left empty, we provided the summon civil number.
So the summon civil number is prepared by yourself, the defendant parties.
Yes, my lord.
Where is the code number? It should be code number. It should be code, I think 23. It should be MA, not MEL. But it's okay. It's okay. Proceed.
Apology, my lord. We will do the amendment.
My lord, we pray to continue the examination in chief for defense witness number 2.
Okay. Please proceed.
Much obliged, my lord. Mr. Jasper, is this written witness statement prepared by you?
Yes, I prepared this witness statement.
Do you understand the content of the written witness statement?
Yes, I do understand.
Do you wish to add or amend any part of the written witness statement?
No.
Please put your signature on the written witness statement.
Understand.
We pray to read the written witness statement. Mr. Jasper, please introduce yourself.
My name is Jasper Edward, 55 years of age. I am an environmental consultant and live at Eco Horizon, Jalan Kasturi, Kuala Lumpur.
In regard to your profession as the environmental consultant that you have just mentioned, could you elaborate further?
Yes, so I am the environmental scientist and the founder of my company, Eco Horizon, which is an environmental consulting firm that has been established in 2005. So as an environmental consultant, I engage in providing advice to businesses, property owners, and developers with respect to coastal vulnerability.
Mr. Jasper, what are your qualifications to be an environmental consultant?
Well, I have a master's in ocean, and I also focus my PhD research on coastal hydrology and coastal vulnerability to the effects of development, natural occurrences, and climate change.
Mr. Jasper, how long of experience have you been working as the environmental consultant?
Well, it has been my 31 years of experience. Since 1990, I've worked as an environmental impact assessment, the EIA consultant, and involved in a number of coastal development-related EIA projects.
In regard to the case brought before the court today, why are you called?
As the EIA consultant that has been appointed by the defendant in 2012 and had led the process over 5 years, my consultation involved doing a rapid assessment of the coastal vulnerability of SSC. And I believe my expertise is relevant to shed light on some of the allegations made against the defendant. The allegation is the defendant had failed to properly plan or manage and to execute the project and have injured the plaintiff.
Do you have any knowledge about the allegations made against the defendant?
Yes, I do, counsel.
Mr. Jasper, what do you know about the allegations?
Well, the plaintiff alleged that in developing SSC, the defendant had affected plaintiff and the other local residents of Padang Kelapa and also includes the environment of it. However, the defendant firmly believed that she had done the necessary action and did not cause any of the alleged damage.
Before we proceed with the next question, we pray to present document B from the organizer. Ms. Solicitor, please present. Mr. Jasper, do you identify the presented map as the map of the disputed area, Alam Kara?
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge about the map?
Yes, I do have the knowledge.
Ms. Solicitor, please present the map, the current map. Mr. Jasper, do you identify the map as the map of the disputed area Alamkara?
Yes, I identify the map.
Do you have any knowledge about the map?
Yes, I do have the knowledge.
My Lord, we pray to invoke section 83 subsection 1 in regard to those two presented map to be marked and tendered as exhibits.
Okay, you may mark as an exhibit.
Ms. Solicitor, please present the written witness statement again. Mr. Jasper, as the EIA consultant for the SSC project, as you mentioned just now, that you have been appointed by the defendant, what did you do for the SSC project?
As my consulting firm has been appointed by the SSC back in 2012, and I was responsible for the process which had led to the project approval. So in January 2019, I was consulted by SSC to undertake a rapid assessment of the coastal vulnerability of SSC.
In regard to the EIA assessment that you undertook for the SSC project, could you tell the court what the defendant did?
Of course, there were three important actions that have been made by the defendant after my company has made a report on the EIA assessment. Firstly, all the processes and necessary consultation and approvals had been carried out and secured for the SSC project. Secondly, based on the concerns on mangrove forests that would affect the livelihood of several fishes, SSC gave compensation and reskilling fishes where this has reduced the number of fishes. Thirdly, the mitigation measures at the coastal defense were identified where soft structures would be employed along the SSC coastline, and SSC had complied with this condition and also had heavily replanted a large portion of the southern part of SSC with vegetation.
Mr. Jasper, you stated that there have been concerns on the mangrove forest, which is expected to may affect the livelihood of the fishes. Could you explain how would the mangrove forest affect the livelihood of the fishes?
So based on our findings, since the coastal mangrove forests were to be converted, as well as the reclamation of Padang Batu's former shoreline, and given the ecological impact, it was predicted that around 85% of fish species would be destroyed. So due to the conversion project would only affect around 80% of the mangrove forest, it was projected that as long as the mangrove forest left intact continued to develop naturally, the livelihood of numerous fishermen would be sustained.
Mr. Jasper, you stated just now that there was a prediction that 85% of the fish species would be destroyed. Is there any measure taken to compensate the predicted destruction?
Well, to lessen the overall strain on fish populations, it was concluded that 25% of registered fishermen would have to leave the industry. And since many of the fishermen were of a senior nature and some were just starting out, the SSC had taken the necessary measures in interventions of compensation and reskilling with the prospect of appropriate employment, and this was successful in lowering the number of fishes.
Mr. Jasper, in the previous questions, when you explained about your job scope and your duties as the EIA consultant, you stated that you undertook the EIA assessment and also you had another duty. Could you inform the court again about what you did for the defendant other than the EIA assessment?
Well, I undertook a rapid assessment of the coastal vulnerability of SSA due to the early signs of damage to soft coastline protection structure along the northern coastline of SSA.
What was your finding from the assessment of coastal vulnerability that you did for SSC project?
Well, we have made a very interesting observation where it was determined that the remaining patch of mangrove forest was almost non-existent by the end of 2018. So the obvious point here is in 2018, where there is a significant shift in the coastal dynamics of the Alam Kara shoreline. And the intensity of the wave is also largely responsible for the disappearance of the remaining coastal forest and was also corroborated by the gradually increasing negative impacts experienced in SS.
Just now you stated about the significant shift in the coastal dynamics of Alam Kara shoreline. Do you have any knowledge about that?
Yes, I do have knowledge on that.
What do you know about the significant shift in the coastal dynamics of Alam Kara shoreline that you just stated?
So based on the modeling projections, three things were determined. Firstly, the change in coastal dynamics and hydrology that has resulted in current intensity, erosion, and also aggression. Secondly, the newly commenced mega port development is also the largest cause of these changes. And lastly, the rate of intensity. If this is not immediately addressed, this could result in severe damage to property, namely the super specialty center and the commercial center, which could be very structural in nature, especially during the two main monsoon seasons. And from those findings, we also come out with several recommendations.
Mr. Jasper, from the findings that you have made, you come up with several recommendations. Could you elaborate what the recommendations are?
Of course. So based on the findings, it was recommended for SSC to consider taking an immediate measures to improve SSC coastal defense. And given the urgency of the threat and the magnitude of potential destruction, the construction of seawalls and breakwaters was judged suitably. And according to preliminary evaluations, the breakwater was well designed and well located, and it might even help Padang Kelapa.
Mr. Jasper, throughout the questions for the examination in chief, you have elaborated well about the coastal condition in Alam Kara. How did you collect all of this information?
So I have conducted a research project with University of West Malaysia to assess the level, aggregation, and disposal of coastal debris in Malacca that also includes Alam Kara for over a 10-year period, and this proved my expertise. We also have made a thorough examination and looking into the hydrology of the coastal area, the wave and current patterns, and the intensity, among others, and have made findings from the modeling projections. So we also have found some possible factors in relation to the coastal and marine debris in Alam Kara.
Mr. Jasper, can you elaborate about your finding in regard to the coastal marine debris that you found in Alam Kara?
Based on the coastal and marine debris profiling and assessment along Alam Kara and other coastal areas in Malacca, we have made three findings, which are firstly, Padang Batu and Padang Kelapa had poor waste management infrastructure, and this has categorically caused leakage of debris into the environment. Secondly, the increase of tourism traffic has contributed towards waste in Padang Kelapa and Malacca. And lastly, the significant shift in coastal dynamics and hydrology that has contributed towards aggregation of marine debris in previously sites are not affected. So we also have found that the southern beach of Padang Kelapa was also once a hotspot in that area.
My lord, those are all the questions for the examination in chief for defense witness number 2, Mr. Jasper L. Edward. We pray for the witness to be subject for cross-examination.
Plaintiff counsel.
My apology, my lord. We pray to tender the written witness statement before proceeding with the cross-examination.
Okay, and the witness statement as an exhibit.
Witness statement of Jasper L. Edward to be tendered as exhibit DWS2.
Okay, thank you.
Much obliged, my lord. With that, we pray for the witness to be subject to cross-examination.
The plaintiff counsel may now conduct the cross-examination on the first witness.
Thank you, my lord. If I may begin my cross-examination.
Okay, you shall proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Jasper.
Morning, counsel.
Mr. Jasper, what is a rapid assessment of coastal vulnerability?
Rapid assessment of coastal vulnerability is to looking into the pattern of the wave and to look whether it will also impact the coastal vulnerability in that area. So the rapid assessment is to evaluate the before, the after, and the present impacts after the development has been conducted.
What factors did you look at to ensure that the hard structures were the one and only method to be erected?
We looking into and making a very thorough examination into the hydrology, the coastal debris, and also the rate of intensity. That is among others of examination that we have done.
Do you agree with me, Mr. Jasper, that the factors and the assessment, rapid assessment that you looked at led to you bringing out a few recommendations to secure the super specialty center?
Can you rephrase your question, counsel?
Do you agree that you brought up the recommendation through your assessment that the hard structures were to be erected to secure the super specialty center?
Yes.
Do you agree that the recommendations to secure such center are not exhaustive in nature?
Can you maybe provide a further explanation on your question, counsel?
The recommendation that you agreed, my apologies, the question that you've just stated in affirmative, the recommendation to secure the super specialty center to erect the hard structure, do you agree that that itself is not exhaustive in nature? The recommendation is not exhaustive in nature?
Yes.
Do you agree that there is no one sole factor pinpointing on the reasoning for the poor waste management in Padang Kelapa?
Yes.
Do you agree, Mr. Jasper, that 85% of the fish species would have been destroyed when the reclamation project commenced?
Based on the observation, yes, but they have taken the measures.
Do you agree that this is the prediction and probability already assessed pre-hand the project being commenced?
Yes.
Do you agree that there are no other factors that would have resulted in the fish species depleting during the project development?
No, there can be other factors that would also lessen the overall population of fish, as such as the non-existent of mangrove forests, in which I've recommended to SSC to take an immediate measure in reskilling them and also to compensate them.
Do you agree that it was assessed by you and by the consulting firm that 85% of this fish species will be destroyed when the reclamation project commences, and this was the main finding?
Yes, counsel.
Do you, my apologies, do you know what are the main reasons or factors for the erosions to occur?
The main erosions happen due to several factors. Firstly, the intensity of the wave in the current area. Secondly, the coastal mangrove forest. If you look into the map that has been tendered before in 2018 and the current map, the may I refer to the map, my lord?
Which one you want to refer?
I wanted to refer to the map that has been tendered by the defendant to give a proper explanation to the plaintiff.
Okay, you mean?
I wanted to can we look into the map of development firstly in before the development D3. Okay, plaintiff, if we could look into the assessment that has been made by my consulting firm, we could look how the coastal forest, which is the yellow area, is big enough on that time. However, Ms. Solicitor, we can look into the okay, and looking into this comparison in Exhibit D, we could see the current map of Alam Kara. The coastal mangrove forest is almost non-existent by the end of 2021. So the measures that has been recommended by my company is to planting the vegetation, which is the casuarina, and also to make a breakwater. The essential of breakwater is to avoid the intensity of the wave to keep on giving the effects of the soil erosion. That is my explanation, plaintiff. Thank you, Ms. Solicitor. Thank you, my lord. Much obliged, my lord.
Thank you, Mr. Jasper. If I may continue. Do you agree that the defendant has at least contributed to the damages caused?
No, counsel.
That's all. Thank you.
Does the defendant wish to re-examine?
Yes, we pray to proceed with the re-examination for defense witness number 2, Mr. Jasper.
Okay, proceed.
Mr. Jasper, just now you asked about the recommendations to protect the construction area, especially in regard to super specialty. Could you explain how can these recommendations help to protect or give any benefit to the construction area?
This is to lessen the impacts of that would given the bad effects towards the project development and also to cause overall effect of soil erosion in that area, and that is why I've recommended few alternatives.
Mr. Jasper, you also stated that there can be other factors that would cause changes to the disputed area. Could you explain further on that?
Yes, counsel. So the coastal mangrove forests were also one of the effects, one of the causes that will lessen the fishes in that area, and that is why we have I've recommended, my company has recommended for SSC to take immediate measures to compensate them and to reskilling the measures. This is because we can lessen the number of fishes, so the number of fishes in the area would be sustained.
When in your cross-examination, you also addressed about the measures taken by the defendant, which are building seawalls and also the vegetation plant. Could you explain the justifications behind those measures?
Of course. So after looking into on how the comparison of the map that has been explained earlier, and my concern is on the mangrove forest, because the nature of the coastal mangrove forest is to protect the area from any intensity that comes from the ocean, and that is why we've come up with vegetation. This vegetation, which is casuarina, the effects and benefits of it is similarly to the coastal mangrove forest, in which it will combat the soil erosion in that area. And moreover, to further strengthen the construction in that area, we also have recommended for SSC to build the seawaters, the breakwaters, so that there will be no effect of soil erosion and the livelihood of the residents in the area would be sustained also.
Thank you, Mr. Jasper. My lord, those are all the questions for the re-examination for defense witness number 2, Mr. Jasper Edward.
Okay, thank you.
We pray for the witness to be released.
Okay.
Okay, that concludes the defendant half of witness examination. The court will now stand down for 10 minutes to give time for the counsels to prepare their
Madam
closing statements.
Inspector, you
Yes.
should give defense team to say something. Maybe they want to close the case or what?
All right. Yes. Defense counsel, you mean?
Sorry, what was the question?
Do you have any other witnesses to?
No, my lord. Those are all our witnesses for this case.
So what about your case? You want to close your case now, or?
We wish to proceed with the closing submission, but the court's interpreter suggests to stand down the court for 10 minutes.
No, the defendant should close the case. You have no further witness to offer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My apology.
You should say that you have no other witness to offer. Then you should close your case. Then the madam interpreter can the court will adjourn to give time for both parties to prepare their skeletal submission and to prepare for the closing of the submission.
My apology, my lord. So we have no other witness to be offered, and we will pray to close our defense case.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we stand down for 10 minutes to give time for both parties. Okay, we shall meet again in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, much obliged.
For 10 minutes. Our 10 minutes break is up. I want to check. Is the plaintiff counsel ready? Plaintiff counsel, are you all ready?
Can you see me? My apologies. Can you see me?
All right, now I can see you.
Okay.
Defendant counsel, are you ready?
Yes, Ms. Interpreter.
Right, Tuan Kafli, can we start now?
We may start now.
Thank you. May it please the court, my lord, Kanisha Nair, second counsel for the closing statement. My lord, this is a case of negligence caused by the defendant, Sunshine City Development. Being professionals for years in their line of work, they have erred in their professional duty to ensure that their responsibilities and obligations were adhered to in the project they wanted to develop badly. The effect of their negligence was the soil erosion under the plaintiff's house and in failure of preserving marine ecology that caused a loss of income in many more other different negligence. My lord, in the two High Court cases of Hawkwee Nurseries and Majupadu Development, it was stated that clearly that to determine whether in any given circumstance there was a duty owed by one party to another, the courts have traditionally applied the Aclinian test in the well-known case of Donahue against Stevenson. And the test is as follows. The rule that you are to love your neighbor becomes in law, that you must not injure your neighbor. The question then becomes, who is your neighbor? And that itself receives a restricted reply. One must always take reasonable care to avoid acts or omission that one can reasonably foresee to injure one's neighbor. Hence, the person who is closely or directly affected by another's act or omission is the one directing their minds to the acts of omissions, and that itself is the neighbor in question. The facts on our case is clear. The defendants were professionals in their industry. And they were doing a reclamation project where the land was adjoining and used by both the villagers and the project developers. And as both the owners and occupiers of such land, it is evident that a duty of care situation existed between both the plaintiff and defendant. They clearly fall within the category of persons as described in the Achaean test. In other words, the plaintiff was closely and directly affected by the defendant's act. The defendant ought to reasonably infer that the plaintiff would have been affected by the defendant's act of constructing hard structures or their omissions in not constructing soft ones. It should also be noted that in the case of Farden against Harcourt Livington, the test there to state whether there was a possibility of a danger emerging is one being reasonably apparent, where then to take no precaution itself is considered to be negligent. The facts of our case here is clear. It showed that there was a possibility that arose. The defendant's stance is crystal clear to say that the reasoning as to why the erosion occurred was due to the massive dredging of the port by the state. This was 21 kilometers away from Padang Kelapa. And this was despite the 5 km distance they possessed from Padang Kelapa itself. This cannot be possibly the reason to infer that it is the main or vital point as to why the soil erosion occurred. My lord, if I may, I would like all of you to try and picture yourself in this story. You are a fisherman in a small town. You have worked hard all your life and struggled to maintain your livelihood. You've had a rough life and you built your own little nest. You think you have it all figured out. But one day a big company comes by and they say that they will build huge structures and make changes as to the way you live. They say that it will be positive and you will be happy with the outcome. And despite being skeptical, those in power, the government and the state, says that it's okay. And the big company can build those structures and they promise not to disrupt your way in life. The problem is, a promise is a big word. It either makes or breaks everything. And unfortunately for Mr. Kasim, it broke everything. It cost him his livelihood. It cost him to be in coma for 2 weeks and to be bedridden for 2 months. And this is despite having the physical and mental health of a clearly 20-year-old man. My lords, if I may, my apologies. The plaintiff would like to pray and submit humbly to this court that the court would first hold the defendant, the Sunshine City developers, negligent by not taking reasonable measures up to the professional of standard duty of care expected to prevent the coastal erosion from happening in Padang Kelapa. Second, to hold the defendant in a breach of duty by not fully complying with the environmental management plan and environmental impact assessment as required by the DOE. Third, to award the plaintiffs with the general damages as per the medical report, which is clearly stated on the facts. Fourth, to award the plaintiffs with particular special damages such as the cost of operation, medical treatment, loss of income, and property damage. And fifth, to grant any or other further relief as this court and this honorable judge may deem proper. I rest my case. Much obliged.
Okay, thank you.
We will now hear closing statement from the defendant counsel.
My lord, we pray to present the defendant's written closing submission.
Okay, you may.
Ms. Solicitor, could you please present the defendant's closing submission?
With the court's permission, I would like to display the defendant's closing submission by sharing the screen. My lord, we pray to read the closing submission.
Okay.
May it please your lordship, my lord, the case brought to the court today is based on the allegation that the defendant had negligence in constructing the SSC project, Sunshine City project, and that the defendant had allegedly caused injuries to the plaintiff. The defendant hereby denies any liability for the alleged negligence on the grounds that, number one, the defendant had in while preparing, designing a project constructed in Alam Kara. And number two, the alleged damage to the plaintiff could not be attributed to the defendant. Ms. Solicitor, could you scroll to paragraph 2.1? Okay. My Lord, the grounds of defense submitted by the defendant. Number one, the defendant had in his best conduct exercised his duty of care. In the present case, the defendant acknowledged his duty of care. The defendant acknowledged that in constructing the SSC Sunshine City project, the defendant needs to take into consideration the effects that may cause to the residents nearby. As the SSC developer, the defendant had obtained the tender to develop the project in Alam Kara from the state authority, and the major project is in regard to the reclamation, conversion, and development of the coastal area to the immediate north of Alam Kara, which is Padang Batu. All of the necessary approvals have been obtained before the commencement of the project. This has been testified during the cross-examination for the plaintiff witness number 2. The defendant had met the legal requirements before the commencement of the SSC project. The defendant had also obtained the permission, license from the local authorities to carry out all activities relating to the SSC project, and this includes having met all the requirements and standards set by the Environmental Management Plan and the Environmental Impact Assessment. Despite having past history for the non-compliance of EMP and EIA as alleged by the plaintiff, the defendant had addressed this issue. The defendant had resolved and rectified the minor issue on the complaint in regard to the non-compliance of EMP and EIA. In regard to the subsequent construction of the seawalls and the barriers, the defendant has every right to take necessary measures to protect its property against imminent and serious threats. This has been explained by the defendant witness number 2. The necessary measures to build the seawalls and the barriers are to protect the construction area and also the soil condition for the project. As the pioneer and the specialist in developing green township and green technology, the defendant is committed in observing a high standard of care in developing quality green township. This commitment can be seen in the design and the planning of the SSC project, which focuses on the green technology and includes multiple green initiatives which aim at conserving the environment. The defendant had planted vegetation to take mitigation action for the result of the construction. The type of the vegetation to be planted is not specified upon the approval. This has been testified during the cross-examination for the plaintiff witness number 2. However, in good faith, the defendant planted casuarina tree to meet the mandatory act of planting vegetation along part of the reclaimed and converted areas, particularly the southern end of the project site. Despite the scientific finding on whether or not the tree actually benefited the soil, the legal requirements have been met by the defendant. With all of those arguments, the defendant submitted that the defendant had, in his best conduct, exercised his best duty of care. Ms. Solicitor, could you scroll to paragraph 2.5? Okay. My Lord, The second grounds of defense submitted by the defense is that the alleged damage could not be attributed to the defendant's action. The defendant denied any connection between the project and the alleged claims by the plaintiff. The incident had nothing to do with the SSC project under the defendant's supervision. The mere claims are that the soil has depleted, as testified by the plaintiff witness number 2, is not backed up by any other evidence. The plaintiff did not tender any evidence to concretely suggest that there has been depletion of several hectares of soil as claimed by the plaintiff witness number 2. The plaintiff also agrees that there are other factors, there are other possible factors that could affect the numbers of fish. This was brought out during the cross-examination plaintiff witness number 1. The plaintiff also agreed that there is no direct link in regard to the soil erosion and also the defendant's construction. This was brought out during the cross-examination plaintiff witness number 1. The plaintiff also agreed that the total landing on Padang Kelapa could have been decreased due to tourist attraction. This was brought out during the cross-examination plaintiff witness number 1. The busy shipping industry in the Malacca Straits and to the tourist irresponsibleness may also contribute to the accumulation of the negative impacts to the soil condition in Alam Kara shoreline. This was brought up during the cross-examination plaintiff witness number 2. All in all, the defendant contend that there is no direct connection between the alleged injuries suffered by the plaintiff and the defendant's action in constructing the Sunshine City project development. Ms. Solicitor, please proceed to scroll to paragraph 2.6. Okay. The defendant stated that there is a lack of waste management infrastructure in Alam Kara and there has been increasing tourism and bad practice consumers that may have resulted in increasing coastal and marine changes. This has been addressed during the cross-examination of plaintiff witness number 2. The defendant submits that the SSC project will introduce an efficient and effective waste management mechanism which would benefit Alam Kara. The plaintiff witness number 2 acknowledged that the rural condition of Alam Kara might possibly lack of waste management infrastructure. The defendant put emphasis that there are many other past and present coastal development projects in Padang Kelapa, and the defendant is not the only developer. The incident might have happened due to other developments or due to natural coastal occurrence. The defendant argues that the Sunshine City project under the defendant's supervision is a progressive green initiative with tremendous socio-economic and environmental benefits. The defendant is fully committed in making sure that the SSC project was executed successfully without jeopardizing the ecosystem. This can be seen from all of the mitigation action taken by the defendant. The alleged negligence could not have been foreseen to have caused the injury suffered by the plaintiff, as there are more other factors that took place in Alam Kara, such as the lack of waste management infrastructure to handle the possible impacts from the busy shipping industry and also from the tourism activities. Number 2, the increased tourism and bad practices by the consumers. And number 3, the past and present coastal development projects in Padang Kelapa. The injury suffered by the plaintiff is too remote to be attributed to the alleged defendant's negligence. The possible cause to the injury suffered by the plaintiff is too wide and cannot be narrowed down to the alleged defendant's negligence. A lot of other incidents were taking place throughout the time span of 2012 until 2020, which is before the incident took place. There is a very long period, and from that long period, an accumulation of negative impacts may include a lot of other factors should be taken into consideration to have caused the bad soil condition in Alam Kara, especially in the plaintiff's house, under the plaintiff's house. Sorry, my apology. Had the defendant not initiated SSC in the disputed area, the plaintiff might still suffer. The plaintiff might still suffer from the injury because of the circumstances which he put himself in. The plaintiff's witness number 1 agreed that the injury faced by him was due to him carrying out his own investigation, knowing the fact that he has little to no knowledge on the construction. This has been addressed during the cross-examination of the plaintiff witness number 1. The plaintiff has also agreed that he was not trapped and capable of moving when the porch was collapsed. Had the defendant not done such action during the incident, he might not injure in the first place. That is why the defendant accused that the injury happened because of the circumstances which the plaintiff put himself in. The injury suffered by the plaintiff cannot be said to be the direct result or the direct consequences of the alleged defendant's negligence. The defendant is in no way responsible for the injury and or damages claimed to be suffered by the plaintiff. No conclusive evidence to suggest that the injury is caused by the alleged negligence by the defendant. The defendant refused and will not pay any claims as demanded by the plaintiff. Solicitor, please proceed to the conclusion. In conclusion, the defendant contends that the arguments and evidence submitted by the plaintiff is more probable to be untrue than true because the plaintiff has failed to prove, number 1, that the defendant did not comply to the Environmental Management Plan EMP and the Environmental Impact Assessment EIA when the defendant was awarded with the project. The defendant had successfully proven that throughout the project, the defendant had in his best conduct complied to the law and regulations as necessarily to construct the Sunshine City project development. Number 2, the plaintiff has failed to prove that the SSC project was the direct cause for the soil erosion underneath the plaintiff's house. It has been submitted that a further investigation found that the collapse of the plaintiff's porch was due to the bad condition of the soil. And throughout the trial, the defendant had successfully proven that the bad soil condition underneath the plaintiff's house might have been caused by several other factors, not directly from the defendant's action. The defendant, Sunshine City project developer, had in his best conduct obtained the approval for the project of Alam Kara legally. This has been testified by plaintiff witness number 2, one of the EIA panel, and also the defense witness number 2, the EIA consultant for the SSC project. The injury inflicted to the plaintiff is so remote to be attributed to the defendant. The general damages and the special damages as claimed by the plaintiff have not been fully proven. The defendant acknowledged that yes, there was a duty of care, and the defendant had exercised his duty of care according to the standard set for him as the professional project developer. The defendant had complied to the law and regulations. The breach of duty, the defendant denied any breach of duty as the defendant had exercised his best duty of care according to the standard. The injury suffered by the plaintiff is not caused by any breach of duty of the defendant because the defendant did not even breach any of his duty to begin with. For those reasons, my lord, after hearing all of those evidence and arguments submitted by the defendants and the plaintiffs, we humbly pray to the court to dismiss the case brought by the plaintiff. My lord, that is all for the closing submission by the defendant.
That concludes this closing statement from both plaintiff counsel and defendant counsel. Now the court will take a 15-minute break to give way for the judge to deliberate this case. The participants will now be assigned to a breakout room to ensure that the judge.
Sorry, Madam
yes?
Inspector. Maybe I need extra time. Maybe we resume at 11:45.
Yes, all right,
Yeah.
sure. We can make it
Because
at 11:45.
I need extra time to deliberate further.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. See you again at 11:45.
11:45. All right.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody. Okay, bye. Call again the case or not?
I'm just going to say that we are back in session. All right. All rise. The High Court is now in session. Honorable Tun Kafli is presiding.
Okay. Now I will deliver my decision based on what I've heard throughout this morning. First of all, I would like to congratulate you all because you have done a good job and you have given me a hard time to decide. I need extra time to deliberate on your performance. And on the case, I just deliver my decision on the case first. After full deliberation and full perusal of all documents and on the balance of probability, this court has decided that the plaintiff's claim is dismissed with cost of RM 50,000 ringgit. Okay, as for the marks, I will proceed with the mark I've given to all the participants. But before that, I think it's better for me to explain something that I have jotted down regarding all the participants' achievement. We'll start with Plaintiff Counsel number 1, Ms. Sumitra. Can you hear me, Ms. Sumitra?
Yes, Tuan.
Yeah. I think you have make a wrong because I heard during your opening speech you said that you asked the court to find the defendant guilty as charged. I think that is not the civil procedure. That is criminal procedure. The defendant is not charged in this court. The defendant is being sued by the plaintiff in this court. So you shouldn't confuse yourself between civil and criminal proceeding. Okay? And then I think all the plaintiffs' counsel forgot to tender their witness statement. I think you should tender witness statement as done by the defense counsel. And then all the plaintiffs' witnesses should just read out the witness statement. Because I noticed that when I refer to the witness statement by the plaintiff, they say something different from what I've given the witness statement. So I think you should follow the plaintiff's counsel. They just ask the witness to read out the statement, and then the witness statement as well as the exhibit that you have. And for the PW1, Miss Nishantini. Miss Nishantini, yeah, you have a clear voice. I can hear you clearly. But I'm wondering why you don't just read out the witness statement. I think you said something else. And then for the defendant counsel 1, Mr. Danish, your voice is clear. I can hear you, and I can see the confidence level in you is good. But you need to control the witness. You can stop the witness when witness try to say something is not in your favor. You can stop the witness. You can control the witness. And during the preliminary round, you address myself as Tuan. I think this is a High Court sitting, so you should address myself as Yang Arif or Your Honor. This is a High Court and above sitting, so it should be addressed by Yang Arif lah, not Tuan. You should know the decorum of the court when you are presenting the case. And it's good you alert when the plaintiff counsel is trying to asking question which is not being raised in cross-examination. That's good. Huh? And you have a good opening statement. And I like the way that defendants try to present their case. They assist me by showing me the document, so easy for me to read and to listen as compared to plaintiff's counsel. Okay, that's for the niche. Defendant Intan. Defendant, what do we call DIS?
Instructing solicitor.
Okay, instructing solicitor, because we don't have this kind of position in real courts. Miss Intan, I think Miss Intan have done a good job in assisting their teams. We go to plaintiff counsel number 2, Miss Kanisha. I think you are not addressing the court properly before starting to present your case. You should ask the court permission first before starting your case. And you make one glaring mistake. You objected the question posed by the plaintiff counsel, defendant counsel during the cross-examination. The leading question is being asked, and then it's permissible during cross-examination. It's not permissible during examination in chief and cross-examination only. During the examination, the cross-examination, counsel is allowed to ask leading question. And you didn't close your case. You didn't inform the court that you have closed your case. And we go to plaintiff witness number 2. Plaintiff witness number 2, Ms. Paul. Again, you are not reading your witness statement. You are saying something else, and your voice is clear. And as a witness, you shouldn't ask the counsel to rephrase your question. The question is the duty of the counsel. You just answer the question if you understand the question. But if you don't understand the question, you just ask the counsel to say again. you cannot say, please rephrase your question. That is the duty of the counsel actually. I think not only Ms. Paul, another witness forget to change their head. They think that they are still a counsel or future counsel. So as a witness, you don't have to pretend to be as a counsel. As a witness, you play a role as a witness. You shouldn't ask the counsel to rephrase the question. It's not proper. And for defense counsel number 2, Mr. Aiman. Mr. Aiman, I noticed he is reading the question when questioning during cross-examination. So you should avoid doing so. And your voice is not so clear, and most of the time the witnesses need to ask you to repeat the question again. So you need to be careful with your voice tone. So make sure that you don't make the witness not comfortable trying to ask question again and again. And defendant witness number 1, Mr. Daniel. I think Mr. Daniel is doing a good job, but the character is more like a counsel rather than a witness. The intonation and the character, I think, and most of the time, he tried to elaborate what have written in witness statement. I think you don't have to, as a witness, you just read out the witness statement because you have prepared that witness statement beforehand. So you just read out. And the consequence is, then you see you are off the limit, the time limit. So that's the unfortunate event. And then the rest, I think, should be okay. Now I'll go to the marks. Madam Interpreter, Auni.
Yes, sir.
Do I have to read out the overall mark first or the individual mark first?
You can read the overall mark of the team and only read the individual mark for the one that has any like title like the best overall or like the best instructors.
Oh, I see.
Instructing session.
Okay. I just highlight the significant and
Yeah.
Okay, for the I believe the plaintiff's team is from ATC, isn't it? Yes. Then for defendant's team is from UITM too.
Yes, my lord.
Thank you. Okay, the winner for this mock trial is UITM 2, team UITM 2. Congratulations. They got 82% marks. I've given 414 out of 500 marks. So it total up to be 82%. And the best instructing solicitor is Miss Intan Nadira. She got 80%. And the best witness goes to Miss Khairiyah Malik. She got 85%. And the best counsel would go to Mr. Danish Izam. He got 86%. And the best overall performer is Mr. Danish Izam. So congratulations to all. And the margin, I would give a medium of 4 marks. And then I think that's all from me. Congratulations to all. Hopefully we can see in the real situation in court. For your information, I am a session court judge in Kuantan, Pahang. So maybe we can see each other in the future. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tuan, for all
you,
of
Tuan.
the comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tuan.
Alright. On behalf of our organizer, I would like to extend the utmost gratitude for the judge, Tuan Kafli, for being here with us and giving his deliberation and hopefully insightful comments for all the participants. Inshallah, for other participants, we will have another round, the second round. But since you guys are already done with your round 2, so we will wait for others to be done with their round 2 before we proceed with the briefing of case scenario for the next round. So with that being said, thank you to all, and on behalf of organizer, I apologize for any inconvenience or error made during this competition round. With that being said, the courtroom is now adjourned. Everyone may leave the courtroom session. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
How
Thank you.
is